There is a misconception that all white nationalists have to be white.
Look, being Hispanic or being black does not, or being anything, does not make you immune from being racist, from being radicalized, from being a white supremacist, from being evil, from being homicidal. And we are seeing it over and over again.
White supremacy and racist ideologies aren't limited to one racial or ethnic group. Tonight, we continue our discussion about the rise of white nationalism within the Hispanic community.
This issue has unfortunately put some, and not all, of course, but some Muslim families on the same side of an issue as white supremacists.
Over the recent months, I've just been seeing so many headlines where it's like, this minority group is complicit in white supremacy, or this minority group is trying to be white adjacent, or this minority group is only doing this because of white people. And I just find this narrative framing disturbing. I live in a working class Asian American immigrant neighborhood, and there are a lot of these, and I just go walk in the streets, and I see a lot of these test prep centers of all these Asian parents that want their kids to get into the best college possible. And these parents, they're not rich. They're working class. Most of them are, immigrants, and they just want their kids to have a better education, just to have a better shot in life. And what they see is that affirmative action actively and systemically discriminates against Asian American applicants. So when Asian Americans oppose affirmative action, we do this because we see this as racism against us. It has nothing to do with white people. It has nothing to do with white supremacy.
What we've seen from certain commentators on the left is the assertion that we are, white supremacists, which is obviously not the case. We're not white, so we wouldn't hate ourselves, obviously. But that tactic has been to sort of paint us as not being independent, free thinkers. So it's insulting, and it's also not true. There was this groundswell of concern on an issue that's relating to indoctrination in public schools, and that's a genuine concern that Muslims have. It doesn't come from anybody else. Nobody needs to tell Muslims that you need to care about your children. We don't care what anyone else is doing. We're pursuing, our values and our rights. We want to be independent, and we want to work with people based on values and not based on political parties.
I find those narratives incredibly insulting and demeaning, candidly. I mean, the fact that the New Yorker would write that mass shootings are about the most American thing a Latino can do, I found to be incredibly insulting. The reality is that this tells me that they're not willing to engage in the marketplace of ideas. It's amazing they're only starting to say these things once you've seen a significant shift of Latino votes away from the Democratic Party. I think this is a real shameful conduct by the legacy media to suddenly say, because a new emerging voting bloc in the United States is starting to shift away from the Democratic Party, that somehow that means it's white supremacy. It seems like every time, whether it's Latino-Americans or Asian Americans who are labeled, quote, white adjacent, or Arab Americans or African Americans, anytime that they're starting to shift towards, hey, we believe in free enterprise, we believe in the American dream, we believe in the American promise, we don't want to classify everyone by their ethnic background, we believe in individual dignity, that the media decides then to label them and smear them for deciding to think differently than leftist orthodoxy.
Here's the drill. If you are a racial minority, ethnic minority, and you're conservative, you completely blow up the narrative that the Democrats have always pushed, which is that America is systemically racist, and we wear the white hat in the fight for social justice. These dastardly Republicans, they wear the black hat. So please vote for us. And that is how they've been able to get around 90% or so of the Black vote for decades. And now there's cracks in that foundation. So they're doubling down, tripling down, even as racism has never been a less important factor in American life. So it's a lie that America is systemically racist, but it's a lie that Democrats push for stuff like reparations, critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when we, meaning Black conservatives and others, refute that lie, we become public enemy number one. And I understand that.
The reason I think this narrative of blaming white supremacy is so strong is because when people picture white supremacy, they picture, the Ku Klux Klan or the Jim Crow South or other relics of the past that no longer really have an impact on the present. So they use this loaded term to connect a whole bunch of disparate things together to make it seem like it's not valid to support affirmative action, to be against affirmative action, or it's not valid to be against gender ideology, or it's not valid to be against any of these things without the overarching framework of blaming white supremacy. It's a convenient boogeyman for people to blame. It's like the term Nazi. If you think someone's bad, just call them a Nazi, even if you have no proof. It's just a smear tactic meant to put legitimate criticisms, legitimate complaints into something that is as taboo as actually being a white supremacist.
It actually shows the emptiness of their criticisms, because if no one is actually addressing the issues which we are bringing up, which is the contents of the books that are being taught now in all classes, and they're not addressing the issue of indoctrination. So the fact that they're turning to arguments which are silly, and which I think everyone recognizes is silly, shows that they don't have any real substantive criticisms of our very simple and straightforward claims for religious freedom.